Thank you for clicking on this episode. Just before we get started, I want to make you aware of something. The audio quality on my side isn't the best, and there is a clear echo on my side. However, you can still make out what I'm saying. The reason I'm still posting it is because I think what me and Owen covered is extremely valuable, and I'm confident that it can definitely help somebody or anybody watching this. So, hope you enjoy. With me today is Eoin Maggin. He's pretty hard to describe, but he's actually most well known for lying on the floor in public, where he's made videos about it on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where he has hundreds of thousands of followers who he helps inspire and move a generation into understanding that it's okay to be outside your comfort zone. He's also launched a business on the side of this called Dialed In, where he helps others to do the exact same thing. Now, Owen, thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on here today.
Thank you for having me, Hugh. Thank you very much. I was literally just sitting, I got back from the gym there about 20 minutes ago, and I just felt like I really wanted to say this and put this out in the world. I had a fucking, can I curse? Probably. Yeah. Ask. Okay. I had an incredible bowl of oats just before this podcast, and I'm just like, very chill after them, so I'm feeling good. You've got me in a really good mood, that's what I want to say. So
glad to hear. You said it actually, we were talking about before. What is your diet?
Oh, the diet, yes. So this came from me and Hugh. We were talking just before, and I told them like I like to keep life so simple, just because of like being busy with work and like making content and everything. I like to keep the diet like stupidly, autistically simple. So what I have in the morning is I have my turkey sausages, 1 bagel, and tomatoes. I actually eat 3,000 calories a day, but I'm starving on it, like, because I'm actually reversing out of a diet. But I have my turkey sausages, bagel, tomatoes before the gym. Have a nice wee bowl of Cocoa Pops with a banana. Get some carbs before the gym. Fast acting too, and then after the gym I have those protein oats and rice cakes, and that is, I know I'm kind of biased because I'm just coming out of it, but incredible. See the consistency of like the smooth protein oats, because they're like overnight oats. I put them in the fridge before the gym so they're cold. That's smooth consistency, but I put the rice cakes in it so it adds a bit of crunchiness. It is just indescribable. I need to make a video how to do it. And then I have good old gym bro style chicken and rice and some vegetables for my main dinner, but it's actually incredible. Like, don't mess with what works. And then before bed, I actually like my snacks, and that's all tracked in. So I have my popcorn, I have a kiwi with the skin on. I have to have the skin on, and an orange and some dark chocolate. So that's. Did
you get sick of it?
No, sir. I have the same food every day, and I enjoy every single meal. Could not.
I love that. Anyone who's seen you online, you have like just under 200,000 followers on Instagram, and everyone's seen you going up to people in public, lying on the floor. Why is that? Like, why lying on the floor specifically?
Yes. So, basically, I'll give you my corporate answer, then I'll give you like what happened behind it. Corporate answer. We live in a bit of an epidemic, I believe. An epidemic where we're all online. We're all spending so much time seeing people. We're seeing hundreds of people every single day. If we're scrolling, interacting with different people, whether that's in work or whatever we do, or if we're listening to podcasts or watching YouTube, or it's just regular short form content. But despite there being so much information, despite there being so much great self-help advice, which is like fairly new in the last like 20 years, self-help wouldn't have existed if you asked like your parents or your grandparents. They're like, what the fuck is that? Despite there being so much self-help stuff, people need more self-help now more than ever. So it's about breaking the cycle of self-help. So we don't need more information. We don't need more thinking. We don't need more manifesting. We don't need more sitting in maybe land. And the reason I lie on the floor is to visually show that. So to get out of your comfort zone, to go for more. If you've been thinking about getting into an incredible relationship, because that's the way you want your life to go, and you want to go for that girl or the guy, ask the person out. Do the reps. If you've been thinking about starting a business, start dialing numbers, start cold calling, start getting in DMs, whatever business it is, start making moves with it. If you want to get in the best shape of your life, start getting out, go for that walk, go to the gym, make that change, make that decision, So the reason I lie on the floor is to show people that it's safe to get out of your comfort zone, and through getting out of your comfort zone, you can completely change your life. And I believe that I am living proof that when you put yourself out there, when you back yourself, when you stop caring what other people think, and again, I probably shouldn't say that because everyone cares to an extent what other people think, but when you stop letting what other people think dictate your actions, that is when life changes, and life gets a whole lot better, my friend, when we start to do that. And also, people listen more when you're on the floor. It's very random because it's entertaining. People find it funny, but also it's the message behind it. So it all intertwines together to be a great message in social media to spread. It's one that works. It's one that I've actually live seen work. I've only really been lying on the floor and being known as just the lying on the floor guy the last 4 months. I blew up with the lying on the floor for it was January time. Now we're sitting in 8th of April, and like since then I've had clients that have joined me, signed up from seeing me lie on the floor, and that's been the catalyst that has completely changed their life and allowed them to go for what they want, allowed them to finally look into their purpose, look into their identity, start posting on social media, start getting into the shape that they want to get into. So I've seen how it's changed me, but now I've seen how it's changed other people. So basically, that's why I lie on the floor. And if I was to sum that up, it's to overcome fear and to get out of that cycle that we all find ourselves in.
And you said as well, we need help now more than ever. Why is it now?
Well, if you look outside, or if you have conversations with anyone, obviously me and you met at an entrepreneurship event, whenever I have conversations with people that are struggling, they have the ambition, they can have the motivation, they can have the discipline, but what they lack is that actual clarity. And a lot of people end up feeling lost, and the reason they feel lost is because they don't actually think about their identity. They don't actually think about, right, who is it that I want to be? Who is it that I want to build? What life do I want to build for myself? And we're torn in so many different directions because this person's telling us one thing, this person's telling us another thing. We have this great business idea, but then we scroll, and then this person tells us that this business is better, so then we go and do this. We have this great self-help discipline that we're going to bring on board. We have this really good training protocol that we're going to bring on board, but then we go on to TikTok and someone shits on that, and then we change our strategy. So people are constantly changing strategies, and we're feeling more lost now than ever because we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. Like, for example, with me in the last year, so many things have changed, but all I need to do to completely ruin how proud of myself I could be is just hop on social media and look at someone else that's driving a Lamborghini, or in Dubai, or they've got a bigger business than me, or they live in a bigger woods than me, or something stupid like that. By me just going on social media and using time on social media, that is ruining how I feel about myself. And I feel a lot of people, we're in a bit of an identity crisis and a clarity crisis of where we're actually going. We definitely don't lack information, we don't lack great role models to actually follow, but it's actually just doing the stuff. It's from taking the action, and then as a result, that's why I feel like so many people aren't where they want to be, because they're completely lost and they're in this cycle, they're in this loop, similar to how I was as well. And sorry, I feel like I'm rambling on. I'll give you time to talk, but I feel like the reason people are in this cycle is because they're waiting to be perfect to make a change. And when we wait to be perfect, what happens? Well, we never start, and then we never give ourselves that opportunity to actually change and to actually improve, because people tell themselves they have to feel ready. I have to feel ready to go for it. I have to feel ready to do this thing. But the truth is, you don't have to feel ready. And that's something that we've just been told, that we have to feel ready, but you don't. And when you start doing things when you don't feel ready, when you start going out of your depth, that's when life changes. Not from more scrolling, not from more self-help videos or from more self-help books, and even not from lying on the floor, but from doing the thing that you know that you should be doing. Because we all know we should change in some way. Maybe we're too emotional, and that's something we need to change. Maybe we're not emotional enough. Maybe it's how we treat other people. Maybe it's how we treat our family. Maybe it's how we take care of ourselves. We don't take care of ourselves enough. Maybe we're not happy with how we look, how we feel. We all know it's all very specific to what we should be doing. Everyone knows what it is they need to do, I believe. It's just actually doing it.
That's a really good point. And I remember actually being in the the limit of it. And wanted to ask you, like, how do you overcome this getting out of the comfort zone, essentially? I remember thinking back to myself, it's like, okay, well, I've overcome this before, and it's not that you actually overcome it, but you do it scared. I remember when I started interviewing, doing the podcast, somebody said, all right, put this up in the story, on my Instagram story. Nobody in my school, I'm still in the 5th year, knew that I was doing this. I was like, oh my God, like, I can't do it. And then I was like, all right, everyone's just going to say it to me. I'm just going to do it now and get it over. And I have never been more scared doing something ever. It was terrifying going into school that next day. I didn't know what was going to happen. But it's really about just going in there and just being scared. So I think that's a really good point. And you also mentioned a lot of people are having an identity and a clarity crisis. What questions do you think that people should be asking themselves more often so that they don't get in these crises?
So I would say, if you lack, so there's two types of people. One of the types of people, they know where they want to go, they have the clarity, they're clear in the vision, but it's just the actual execution. And then there's the other person that they know, like, kind of how to do it. They know that they can be disciplined, they kind of know that they'll be able to execute, but they actually lack the clarity and the vision. And the one I see more prominent is the second one, around the clarity. And I feel to actually know the path that we're going to walk, we need to actually look at the future and the past before we start moving forward. Or sorry, not the future and the past, but we have to look at the past before we start moving forward into the future. So that's what I would say. I'd say that would be like the first step. So for me, I look back at and I took time to just reflect on this. I stopped scrolling. I would have just went for walks without listening to music, without listening to podcasts, and I just reflected on my life. I reflected on my upbringing. I reflected on, what did I want to do when I was younger? Why did I want to do it? Why can't I do it now? For me, I actually, and I only realised this in the last year, I always wanted to be a YouTuber. And whenever I started like posting on social media, I didn't even remember that. But it was only once after I started posting, I started taking action, and then I decided to reflect so I could really know what way I want to take my future. I was like, oh, well, this is something that I've always wanted. I wanted to be a YouTuber. So if I sat down earlier and actually reflected on my past, I would have knew better what I could have came up with for a plan for the future. Another thing is, like, I realised from a young age, and I realised from my past, that's what gave me fuel to pull me into the future. So I was, and I believe most people are told this, they're told to be quiet, to follow the crowd, and to just be like everyone else. I definitely was, and I was very insecure because of that. I was very insecure as a child. I don't feel a lot of people open up about that. Insecurity is what got me going, because I wasn't good at the things that I wanted to be good at. I wanted to be great at sport. I was far from great at sport. My brother was great at sport. He was a younger brother. You could imagine how insecure that made me feel. That was a huge thing. My whole time in primary school, I had never won a medal. I had always tried to, but I just lacked the actual, not lacked the ability, but I just probably lacked the actual discipline to apply myself and to be good at these things. And even when I did start YouTube, I did post. I posted like 2 videos, but then I went into secondary school and people made fun of it. What did I do? I ran away. I was a coward. I deleted the videos. I didn't even private them. It's one of my, I don't really like having regrets, but if I had a regret, that would be the regret, deleting those videos, because I can't look back at them and I can't use them to show other people and be like, go for it. So look into your past. When I looked into my past, that's when I realized, okay, what was I insecure in? What did I want to do? Why did I not want to do it? And then I was able to start picking up on patterns, and it's the patterns of what wasn't good and avoiding those patterns in the future. So like I realized, okay, when I do this, I do that. So how can I avoid that for the future? And then that's how I was able to move forward with a path into my future to get what I wanted. And then I also looked at the positive stuff and the wins. So like my first ever win was when I was 12. I used to look at the celebrities online. I used to look at like all the actors and all, the Zac Efrons, the Dwayne "The Rock" Johnsons, and they had 6-packs. They were in all really good shape. You look at Thor, you look at Captain America, they're absolutely jacked. So me being extremely insecure, had never won a medal, deleted all my YouTube videos, I was like, you know what, why don't I get a 6-pack? That'll solve all my problems. And in a way, it slightly did solve all my problems, because I learnt that through discipline anything's possible. Because I applied myself, I did a 6-pack and 3-minute workout every single day, and then that discipline stayed with me, and I got the 6-pack. So I realised, okay, if I show up for myself, if I am disciplined, if I am consistent in something, I can do anything. So from understanding that, everything changed, and then that stayed with me into my adult life. Anything I wanted to achieve, I just used discipline as a tool to move me forward. So yeah, hope that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's a connotation around discipline, that discipline is go, 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 and maybe that might be it. But what's your personal take on discipline? Because from what you're saying, it doesn't really feel like that's the case.
Yeah, I feel discipline's only going to come whenever you understand why you're going to do what you're going to do. So how many people are like, oh, I'm procrastinating, I'm not disciplined on my studying, I'm not disciplined with this. The reason you're not disciplined is because you're not clear enough on the why. For anyone that I coach, I'll only coach them if I'm 100% clear and we're both 100% certain on their why for why they want to change. Because if there is not any why, they're not going to make that change. So the discipline, if you're lacking discipline, you likely haven't sat down and actually thought about, okay, who do I want to become? Who do I want to build? What is my purpose here? And these are scary questions, because they actually force us to reflect and be like, oh, they might make us feel insecure. But by knowing that, when you know your why, and I always say the best why you can have is to also impact other people, like 50% impact on you, 50% impact on other people. Impact on you because sometimes we need to be selfish, and if you're not just doing it for you, then you're a charity, and charities don't really grow that fast, do they? So impacting you, but also impacting other people, because if you're impacting other people, whenever you don't want to get up out of bed, whenever you don't want to be disciplined, you remember, okay, I'm not just doing this for me, I'm doing this because I want to build a business so I can serve my family in the way that, and let them live a life that they've never lived before. I'm doing this because I want to inspire the younger version of me who deleted the YouTube videos, and actually show them that no, don't delete those videos. And if that's a guy lying on the floor preaching, that's what it has to be. So back to your point around discipline, what I believe around discipline, I believe, yes, be disciplined, but pick and choose when you're going to be disciplined, pick and choose what it's going to be for, and just be careful, because we only have so much energy. So like, if you're in something or you're doing something that you really just don't enjoy, for example, in my 9 to 5, I wasn't disciplined. I'm glad I wasn't disciplined in it, because if I was disciplined, that would have took my energy and I couldn't have built my business on the side. But what I did was I decided, you know what, I'm not going to be disciplined at my 9 to 5. I'm just going to like do as little as I can as possible, and I put all my energy into posting on social media, into my building up my own physique, because I knew if I performed well myself, it would have went into other areas of life, and building up my own business. And then from that, I was able to leave my 9 to 5 because I was disciplined in the right things. But if I was disciplined in the wrong things, it would have ruined me. And the only reason I was disciplined in the right things was because I was clear on my why. I was clear that 9 to 5 job that I had, it wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. It wasn't going to allow me to fulfill the purpose that I felt I had. It wasn't going to allow me to build the person, the identity that I want to build. So then the discipline came because I was so clear on the person that I wanted to build. Does that all make sense?
100%.
If I am going on, let me know, brother.
And you hear, well, I've heard a lot that how you do one thing is how you do everything. Do you agree with that?
Very good question. And I literally just said that there now, how I do one thing. I think how you do some things is how you do other things. To be honest, when I look at like my gym training, my work, how I coach clients, I would be very hyper specific there. But when I look at like, it's very interesting. But like when I look at my diet, for example, it's like, is my diet the most optimal? No, but it gets the job done. It's a really good question. I do feel like how you do one thing is how you do everything. But if you're trying to do 2 huge things at once, you can't. Like if you have 2 dartboards in front of you and you have 1 dart, you're only going to be able to have a chance to hit bullseye on 1 board. And that's where I feel like a lot of people go wrong. Like they're trying to, in a fitness perspective, they're trying to do a high rocks, but they're also trying to like gain a bunch of muscle. If you're trying to do both those things, you're just going to go extremely slow. So yes, how you do, I want you to think of it as like one big rock and many pebbles. So how you treat the many pebbles is how the big rock will grow. But if you have two big rocks, or if you're trying to grow two big trees, let's use that example, trees and small plants. Let's imagine you're trying to grow one big tree and a bunch of small plants around it. Alright, that's fine. But if you're trying to grow two big trees, one tree might grow faster, or they might like cover each other because of the way the sun hits it, and they might ruin the rest of the garden because they're both covering the full garden. Focus on one big goal and then the small things around that. So for me, I've had phases where my one big goal was business, but around that I had the balance of like, okay, keeping my fitness in check and making sure that's there, keeping my routine in check, keeping my sleep in check, keeping a bit of my personal life in check. But you'll notice that you cannot push everything at once. So during the time when I was pushing my business, if I also said, you know what, I'm going to do an ultra marathon, plus I'm going to try to meet the love of my life and get in the best relationship ever, I'm going to put myself out on Tinder and Hinge and meet all these girls and go on all these dates, I wouldn't have been able to do it. I would have done it, but I wouldn't have been able to progress as fast as I did. So yes, how you do one thing in like the small things is how the other thing will grow. But if you're trying to do two huge things, it's like having two huge purposes, two huge missions. The CEO of Apple is just the CEO of Apple. He grows Apple. That's his main goal.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the way I see that.
Yeah, I heard this quote before. Is the man who runs after two rabbits catches neither. I think that's a really good point what you said there as well. And while we're on the topic of goals and whatnot, I watched like a couple hours of your YouTube in preparation for this, and I took two quotes from. I'm gonna go over the second one in a while, but this one's kind of relevant. You said, "I'm under the belief that you do not need to believe in yourself." As soon as I heard that, I was like, that's so counterintuitive to everything I've ever heard, or especially in the entrepreneurial space. They're all about belief and conviction in your goals. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Yeah. So this is where, and I think it's really good to agree to disagree, because someone could get something. Someone could get something from one person, but get something else from me, because different philosophies. I always really struggle to say that word, philosophies. But I'm under the belief, and I find that what's worked for me is whenever I've removed the pressure of having to believe in myself. Whenever I sit and I'm like, oh, I have to believe in myself, I have to know that this is going to work, I then put it on a pedestal and I put a lot of pressure on it. And also, I set extremely high expectations. And when you set it like extremely high expectations and you don't hit them, then you can really disappoint yourself. But I once asked myself the question, what if I didn't have to believe in myself? What if I just did the work? What if I just showed up? What if I just behaved in the way that someone that had the results achieved the output that I wanted to achieve? If I just behaved in the way that they did, how would my life change? And I just did that. I literally just showed up. I was working with different mentors. I would have just did as they asked. I wouldn't have thought about it. I wouldn't have told myself, oh, I need to believe in myself. I don't feel confident enough to do this. I would have just done it. And then that's when my life changed. So a lot of what I've built has been because I just told myself, you know, I don't have to believe in myself. A lot of the time I did, but I didn't put the pressure to have to. First time I stepped on the stage, if I told myself I had to believe in myself, if I told myself I had to be this incredible speaker, yes, that's great on the run-up, but what would happen? I would just be about to step on stage. I see 100 people, and naturally, if you see 100 people in front of you, you're going to feel threatened. You're standing facing 100 people, and they're all facing you. They're silent. It's your time to talk. It's natural to feel nervous. And if I told myself, oh, I can't feel nervous, I have to believe I'm this incredible public speaker, well then, as soon as I felt nervous, I would have actually panicked more. Whereas I just said, you know what, I'm going to go on stage. I probably will be nervous. I probably will stutter over my words. It probably won't go perfect. I'll probably fuck up, and I'll openly admit that on stage. And there were a few fuck-ups on stage, and when I look back, I'm like, alright, I aced that. And the reason I aced it was because I did it imperfectly perfect. I didn't believe in myself, and just my last point on that is when we overly stress about having to believe in ourselves, we then wait to take action. We then wait until we do believe in ourselves to do the thing. We wait to feel ready, and you don't have to feel ready. You don't have to believe in yourself. Just take the action, show up, reiterate, and the result will come.
I was really bad for that, for being in my head about believing in myself, because I think there's an aspect of it, and you mentioned it, it's almost like denial. You don't accept the worst case scenario. I think when you can get comfortable with, okay, people are going to laugh at me, if that's the worst thing that's going to happen when I'm on stage, so be it. But I think there is a lot of kind of mindset coaches who they're in denial about the situation or what could happen. I know you coach mindset as well. Do you talk about like affirmations, and is that something you use personally when you are taking on your task, like talking on stage or something new that's maybe daunting?
I lean heavily more on. I don't fully disagree with affirmations. I know why they work. I know my manifestation works. It definitely does work, but I found for a lot of people it doesn't work out. So a lot of people, whenever they overly stress on manifestation, they just focus on manifestation. Manifestation's good if it gets you to take action, because action brings a result. What most people do is they just manifest it and they just think about it, and then they end up never acting as a result. I far rather, because there's only so much we can focus on, I would far rather focus fully on the mission, fully on the purpose, and then the actual actions it's going to bring that mission and that purpose to fruition, rather than overly stressing on, alright, I looking in the mirror and telling myself, alright, I am this person. I've tried it myself, it just didn't feel right. I've tried the affirmations, I've tried to be like, I am hot, I am cold, I am rigid, I'm a warrior. I've tried that where like I've just sat in the morning and affirmed these things to myself, but it was just, for me, it felt all fake. So instead I just took the action, and then that's what's allowed me to move forward, that's what's allowed me to change. So affirmations, manifestation, it can work. I think what's so much more important, in my own opinion, is figuring out, right, what is the mission behind what I'm doing, what is the purpose I have, how is it going to help me, how is it also going to help other people, and what do I need to do to make this happen, and like bring it down to the smallest action you can take from today. So instead of thinking 5-year plan, 2-year plan, 1-year plan, yes, have that roughly in your head if you want, but even think, alright, what do I want to do in 6 months, what do I want to do this month, what do I want to do this week, keep taking it back, what do I want to do by tomorrow, what do I want to do by today, what do I want to do by this hour, what am I going to do in the next 5 minutes. And if you can do that, I feel that's so much more powerful action over manifestation.
And when you're talking about the purpose and being clear in your purpose, is that something that you go over daily to keep you in that mindset, that motivation?
No, not exactly. I just feel from my actions serves my purpose. So I don't like go over it daily or read a script daily or read my affirmations around it. I just know what I need to do during the day. I have my to-do list, I have my calendar, and I follow that. And from doing that, that's what works for me. And that's when I feel most fulfilled. Not by even thinking about the purpose, but through just purposely doing the actions towards that purpose. And if you can enjoy the climb, that's all that matters. Like people who love hiking, if you just enjoy the view of the hiking, you don't truly love hiking. But if you enjoy actually hiking, the camping in between it, the walking up, the crack you're having in the way, if you can enjoy the journey, that's all that matters. So I find just through the action, that's what I enjoy. And I really enjoy my work. So I've got myself to that point where like I enjoy it. I've like my dopamine is desensitized to a point where I can enjoy it too. So yeah, my mission, my purpose is reminded through my actions. Like when I'm texting clients back and forward and they're telling me, okay, Owen, you've helped me with this, that's what reminds me of my purpose, rather than me just like writing it down on a whiteboard. They're actually telling me, okay, Owen, thanks, yesterday you did this, or you told me this, I actioned it, this changed, I've got this outcome, and that's reaffirming my purpose to me rather than just having to think about it. That makes sense?
Yeah, 100%. And when you mention fulfillment, kind of maybe spark a question in my head. If people are feeling lost in terms of what they want, what brings them fulfillment, what should they start doing to actually understand what it is they want?
I always use the analogy of to kick like fuck. So let's say in an example, you were out and about and you got jumped by a bunch of people and there were like 7 or 8 people kicking you. That's like when you feel lost. That's when you feel like, alright, I'm down on the ground, stuff's going on, and you feel lost. By kicking, that is just taking action. It is just incite and challenge. So if you feel lost right now, what I would tell you to do is just kick like fuck. And what I mean by that is do as much as you can. Take on more stuff. Say yes to more things. Say yes to hanging out with that different friend group, because you could just be one person away from completely changing your life. You can meet a certain person in that group that they could be your business partner, they could be your partner, your life partner, they could be your new best friend. Go to that event. If there's an event you've been looking to go to that. If there's been like a part-time job you've been looking to take on the part-time job. You'll learn the skill. If you've been thinking about changing job, do it. If you've been thinking about going up and asking that person out, do it. For me, what I did whenever I felt lost and I didn't feel like I had a purpose, I just said yes to so many things. I hung out with so many different people from like different cultures, different backgrounds. I worked so many different jobs. I was in my main 9 to 5, but I also decided to take on a PT job on the side where I was traveling around different gyms. I was forced out of my comfort zone, and through getting forced out of my comfort zone to take these different classes, and I learned a lot about people. I learned a lot about like how to push people in the right ways. I even randomly decided I'm just going to apply to be an extra, in like movies, and I ended up doing a few like extra gigs on movies, and from that I learned things about myself. I learned, like whenever I go to these different gigs and like everyone's sitting about, I seem to be like the person that like is good at starting conversations with people. So I learned things about myself through saying yes to a bunch of things and through taking on more stuff in my life. So yeah, and then also cutting things out. So I cut out scrolling completely, and that completely changed my life. And I said to clients, I know it's probably unrealistic for you to completely cut out scrolling, but even if you can cut it out by 50%, that'll completely change your life. I cut out alcohol for a period of 3 months, and during that period of 3 months, that's like where I cut out alcohol and scrolling during that period of 3 months. And from that, I got really bored. But through that boredom, I learned a lot about myself too. So most of us just aren't bored enough to find challenge. Most of us aren't bored enough to actually find this purpose. You're never going to find your purpose through lying in bed or lying on the couch with your feet up, doom scrolling. You're never going to find your purpose through sitting with your mates, fucking about. You're never going to find your purpose through sitting there eating a McDonald's drive-thru. Your purpose is not going to come from there. But your purpose will come from doing things that actually push you out of your comfort zone, things that actually build you up. Even if, let's say, you don't train, you don't go to the gym, do those things. You will, whenever you master yourself and you grow yourself, you learn a lot about yourself, and that's how I feel you find your purpose.
That brings me to my next quote. When I was watching one of your videos, like I said in preparation, somebody asked you a question, and they said, "How do I stop being so shy?" Your response to this was, "I absolutely love this." You said, "We all tell ourselves a story of who we are. Stop telling yourself that story. You're not that person. You've just acted like that person. Take action against that belief." As soon as I heard that, I was like, whoa. I think it's so true as well, because I personally, I'm always saying, I'm this kind of person, I'm this kind of person. And a lot of those things that I say aren't things that I'd be proud of or things that I want to associate myself with. How do you even get to a place where you can have realizations like that?
I always say it's through action. So if I believe myself, for example, for me, I believed that I was a loser. And the reason I believed that I was a loser was because if you look at my past, if you look at my backstory, if you look at my childhood, well, I was telling myself the whole time that I was a loser. So I took that into my belief system. I didn't get the medals, so I thought I was a loser. My brother was incredible in sport compared to me. I was a loser. I deleted the YouTube videos. My dream, had a dream of becoming a YouTuber. I started it. I took the action, I had the want and the why to do it, but I deleted the videos. I thought I was a loser. So what did I do? I just acted against that. So I started doing the things that losers wouldn't do. Whenever I was in university, whenever the lecturer would come out and be like, all right, we need 3 volunteers to public speak in front of everyone, I would have like raised my hand. And when I raised my hand, did I believe that I'd be able to stand in front of everyone and speak confidently? Most definitely not. Like, I felt like the most nervous person in that room. Even raising my hand alone felt nervous. But it was an action against the story I'd been telling myself my whole life. So I just slowly and surely took action against that story. I got into the gym, I got the 6-pack. That was an action against that story that I was a loser. I proved to myself and I impressed myself through doing that. From getting the 6-pack, I then went into I did a fitness modeling competition at 17, and people made fun of that. But at that point, I didn't care, because I was just there to impress myself. So I would say, through doing those actions, that is against the story that you've told yourself. We all have some set of beliefs that we've gained, whether they be positive or negative, from being a child. For most of us, or for a lot of us, it's negative beliefs that we've took on. We remember all the negativity, we remember that stuff. Reason being is because our body wants to keep us safe. And we are kept safe through not doing those things, through not taking the action. If I feel a bit afraid to ask a girl out, my body will stop me to, because it just assumes that I'm back in my caveman days and I'm about to go out hunting for food, but it's not a safe area, so I might get ate by a tiger. But we don't live in those times anymore. There is everything to gain and so little to lose. You ask that girl out, she says no. You start that business and you fail, so what? You upload that video and it gets 10 views. No one watched it anyway to begin with. You start the podcast and no one watches it. Again, no one watched it. It doesn't matter. People made fun of you because you uploaded those YouTube videos. You didn't delete them. They forgot. They moved on. So, yeah, take action against the story you've told yourself. That's the only way to fully change, I find. Because if I just sat there and I wrote out all these affirmations that I tried to manifest myself out of being a loser, it wouldn't have worked. I still would have been out of shape. If I didn't do the 6-pack and 3-minute workout, which was taking action, and I just manifested to myself, I still would have been a loser. So it was through actually the action that changed me. Other people may disagree, and they think it's all in the mindset. Yes, there's so much importance in the mindset, but I feel the mindset is built through action. That's phase 1.
And do you get comfortable with uncomfortable situations after a while?
Yes, to an extent. So I just feel if you think about, if you've worked a part-time job, whenever you first went into the break room, you were probably really nervous. All you were doing was going into the break room, and eventually after a few months, it just became natural. It just became part of your routine. So yeah, of course, you will just get comfortable with that, with those uncomfortable things. So it's about constantly getting out of your depth. So if you find that the gym has become your comfort zone, well, going to the gym more isn't going to change. You need to do things that are outside of your comfort zone, outside of the gym, to build yourself up. If you are very smart and you read books and you're really good on that side of things, but you're out of shape, well, reading more books is not going to help you. It's through going to the gym. So it's figuring out, right, who do I want to build, where do I want to change, and do an action directly to where you want to change. So if I wanted to start a business, but I was just hitting 2 workouts a day, and I was I'm going to do 3 workouts a day. Alright, I'm doing more action, and the 3rd workout I do a day could be something really uncomfortable. It could be 45 minutes or an hour Stairmaster, but it's not going to help me in the exact thing that I want to build. If I want to make more money, going to the gym more is not going to help me. So it's about getting clear on, right, where am I uncomfortable, where do I want to grow, and doing the uncomfortable actions in that specific area, rather than just doing uncomfortable actions for the sake of doing uncomfortable actions. And that's where I say, and I always say it in my posts, lying on the floor is not going to solve all your problems. If you're unhappy with something, just lying on the floor won't solve all your problems, but do the thing you've been pushing back in the area of life that you want to build.
I really like that. I think throughout this whole conversation, you've been really good at giving me a clear roadmap and a way to improvement. which is definitely something that I think a lot of people lack. So I thank you for that, because I've definitely gotten a lot of takeaways. And it leads me to my last question. Owen, if me and you were to die today, knock on wood that doesn't happen, but what's one piece of advice that you would want to leave behind?
I would give away my oats recipe, which I had before this podcast, because they were so good. But what I would actually, they are really good oats. Like, I was having them, I was like, damn, more people need to know about this. But if I were to die, so me and you are both dying.
Both of us, yeah.
Okay. And it's a piece of advice that I'm giving to the world before I die.
Yeah.
The one piece of advice I would give to the world before I die would be, it would be what we talked about here. I wanted to think of something else, but like, again, it's what works. It's that you don't have to believe in yourself. You don't have to feel ready. You will wait to feel ready to do that thing. You will wait until you have that certainty, you have that backing. But you don't need that certainty, you don't need that backing. All you need to do is act. And through acting, through taking actions, great things will happen. That is how anything amazing has happened. That's how they built the pyramids. No matter what your theory is for building the pyramids, someone acted, whether it was aliens or whether it was the Egyptians or whether it was giants. It was through action. That's how they built the pyramids. That's how any huge company has been built, through action. So take action. More thinking isn't going to help. More manifesting isn't going to help. It happens from doing. And stop waiting to do. Stop thinking. Start doing.
Amazing. Oh, I've really enjoyed this. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No worries. I forgot the last part. It's stop thinking, start doing. It's time to dial in. That's my three-part quote.
That's the catchphrase.
Yeah, that's one of my. I have too many catchphrases these days.
Amazing. Well, look, thanks so much, Eoin. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, lad.
Thank you so much, Hugh.
Amazing. Lad, I was savage. I really enjoyed that. I know I'm probably taking a lot of you there. I was all you, but lad, I was like, and I really meant that as well. You were so clear on. I feel like I have like a clear roadmap, not what to do, but what I know I need to do in a sense. It's just so clear, and your way of communication is clear and concise. I really like it.
Thank you, brother. You're a really good host. Really good
Appreciate
host. You ask good questions. You're digging deep. It's really good, and I'm glad you've got something off this. Hopefully, the other people get stuff off it too. I just like to keep it, just for me. Like, I like to keep it as simple as possible. Same with my diet. If I can make it simple for someone to start their business, or someone to get into the relationship that they want to get into, or someone to change the shape that they're in, I'm going to make it more simple, rather than, I do feel like in self-help there's so much focus on manifest it, or write it down, or take this time, and I do believe it works. I meditate on myself to like suppress my dopamine and all, and to actually like, because you can't just always act, but for most people, like, they're not acting enough. It's not more thinking that they need to do. But you will get to a stage where you do need to slow down, and you do need to actually sit with those thoughts, and more like, if you're just constantly pushing, it's not going to grow you. But there's a time and place for everything. There's going to be a season for everything, I find.
Different seasons for different reasons. But you really got to make it simple, because I often find myself like getting into like an hour and still asking questions, and I was like, alright, what question am I going to ask? But I was like, no, there's no question, like, this is it, like, this is, it was like half hour in, and I was like, I don't want to overcomplicate it for everyone. I'm not going to ask questions I don't want to ask, and I just thought you just did a really good job. No, I'm repeating myself, but I really mean it. Really good job at just being simple, because I think there's so much just BS out there. So much lads just trying to whatever, sell a course, make a quick book. Not the courses aren't nice and long one, but they have like the secret sauce. But that was good. I really like that. It's something I'm going to come back to. But yeah, man, I really enjoyed that.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. So did I. It's great.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, like, what made you actually decide to come on? Because this is not a big podcast by any means. I have about 400 followers on Instagram.
Just I like to help people out, and also just because you're 400 followers, it doesn't mean like that's devalued in any way. Like I get value from doing podcasts myself because I learn about myself and I improve as a speaker. And again, like as I said, you're one person away from changing your life, or I could be one person away from changing someone else's life. So whether 5 people listen to your podcast or 50 people or 500 people listen to it, it's going to be worth my while for me to sit here for 45 minutes and hopefully change someone's life, because that's what I'm in this for. And it was literally podcasts like this which did change my life. So
amazing. Look, lad, I don't want to keep you any longer, but you've put a smile on my face for the rest of the evening, and you're making me hungry for a bit of oats as well. So seriously, thanks so much for coming on, lad, and enjoy yourself in the forest. Bye.
Get them in it. Here, when does the podcast come out?
I'd say it'll be next week. This time next week-ish.
No worries, I'll put it on the stories and all.
Amazing. Thanks so much, lad. I appreciate that.
Alright, have a good one, brother.
No pressure. Talk to you, bye. That was savage. Get your